Hey, young historians, Mr. Moran here. And last couple of lessons, you've been learning about these new colonies that were established in the New World, or North America, I should say. So you learned about Jamestown and what happened there. And we just learned about the Castillo San Marcos down in modern day Florida. And we learned about the lost colony of Roanoke. Well, we've been focusing down in the South part of the modern day United States. Now we're going to shift up to what we call the New England area. The New England area makes up modern states like Maine and Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island, around there. And we're going to learn about the Mayflower and the Plymouth colony. So I have this link that is included in Canvas. And so you could read this independently, or you could watch this video and I will read it to you. And then once you're done, you can answer a few questions that go along with this reading. So I'm going to start here where it says the Mayflower and the Plymouth colony. Not all the English separatists set out for the New World. The first group to leave England actually headed for the Dutch Netherlands in 1608. They became uneasy in their new land as their children started speaking Dutch and abandoning English traditions. Even worse to the separatists, the tolerance shown to them by the Dutch was shown too many different faiths. They became disgusted with the attention paid to worldly goods and the presence of many unholy faiths. So let me give you some background information about what's going on here. So in the late 1500s, early 1600s, England's going through great political turmoil. They go through some monarchs within probably 20 years of each other, and these monarchs switched their faiths from Protestants to Catholic back to Protestants. And when they did this, the expectation was that when the monarch would change their faith, everyone in England would also change their faith, and those who did not were executed. And when they went back and forth from Protestant to Catholicism, or Catholic and back to Protestant, it wasn't always back to the original Protestants. And there were some changes that happened that upset the Puritans. And they said, hey, we're going to leave England and we're going to go to the Netherlands. But then when they got to the Netherlands, their children started taking on the local ways, and that upset them. And so they're like, hey, we need to find someplace else. So I'm going to pick it up right there. The great separatist experiment in the Netherlands came to a quick end as they began to look elsewhere for a purer place to build their society. Some headed for English islands in the Caribbean. Those who would be forever known to future Americans as the Pilgrims set their sights on the New World in late 1620. Crossing the Atlantic. Over 100 travelers embarked on the voyage of the Mayflower in September 1620. Less than one-third were separatists. The rest were immigrants, adventurers, and speculators. When the weather was good, the passengers could enjoy hot food cooked on deck. When there was high wind or storms, they lived on salted beef or dried biscuit called hardtack. It's really gross. I've tried it. Other dried vegetables and beer. The nearest thing to resemble a bathroom was a bucket. Their voyage took about 2 months, and the passengers enjoyed a happier experience than most transatlantic trips. One death was suffered, and one child was born. The child was named Oceanus, after the watery depths beneath them. Are we there yet? One of the greatest twists of fate in human history occurred on that epical voyage. The Pilgrims were originally bound for Virginia to live north of Jamestown under the same charter granted to citizens of Jamestown. So remember, a charter is kind of like a constitution. It's given to a group of colonists, in this case by the king, and the king says, okay, I'm going to give you this land, and here are my expectations on what you're going to be doing, what's the purpose, and who's going to govern you. fate charted a different course. Lost at sea, they happened upon a piece of land became known as Cape Cod. This is located in modern-day Massachusetts. After surveying the land, they set up camp not far from Plymouth Rock. They feared venturing further south because winter was fast approaching. The Pilgrims had an important question to answer before they set ashore. Since they were not landing within the jurisdiction of the Virginia Company, they had no charter to govern them. Who would rule their society? In the landmark Mayflower Compact of 1620, the Pilgrims decided they would rule themselves based on a majority rule of townsmen. So this Mayflower Compact, just to give you an idea, this was basically their charter, and this is their idea of setting up their government. And what makes this so revolutionary was it was set up by themselves. It was not written by the king or the king's government. They just pulled out basically a piece of parchment and just hammered out how we're going to live, which was revolutionary at this time period. This independent attitude set up a tradition of self-rule that would later lead to town meetings and elected legislators in New England. Like the Virginia House of Burgesses established the previous year, Plymouth Colony began to lay the foundation for democracy in the American colonies. So I've read this to you. Now what I'd like for you to do is answer a few questions that you can find in Canvas. All right, guys, if you have any questions, as always, ask your teachers or make an appointment and see me during office hours. Talk to you later. Bye.